Welcome to another episode of Unconditioned Mind. Unconditioned Mind is a project of Awakened Global which seeks to contribute towards gender and racial inequality. In this season, we're dealing with entrepreneurship and personal development. And I have an exciting guest for you, Professor, I mustn't forget, Professor Lethiwe Nzama-Sithole, one of my daughters. I'm so proud of her. Just such a driven person. So, my dear, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you? Your qualification. People want to know.
All right.
What they should aspire to.
Yeah, Mama, firstly, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this project. It's not just a project, but it's really a project that touches lives, that speaks to the journeys and tells stories, because we believe stories inspires others. So in terms of who I am, I'm a child of God, firstly, and I'm a driven woman who's also a mother, a daughter, and a teacher. So when I say a teacher, I mean in different lenses. I mean academic. I teach from undergrad to postgrad students, and in spaces where I find myself, I always try to inspire and leave people better than I found themselves, so that I can just have an impact. So I'm a driven person that I would like to drive others to unleash their potential.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes, that's what we want. That's what we want. Maybe you can just share a bit of background in terms of your career journey. Okay. What were the highlights? And just don't focus on just the story only, the history. Because, there are lessons that you've learned. Share those lessons. So that my listeners can really get the wisdom from your story.
All right, thank you. So I was raised in Tembisa, but not really Tembisa. But Ivory Park is a township that falls under Midrand. I was born in Mpumalanga, and being raised in Ivory Park is an area where we have a lot of obstacles. There's no, even infrastructure is not proper. And the schools we go to are quintile 1 and 3. So limited exposure, but I was from a home where I had both parents who were role models, and they're still role models. I'm really honored to still have them to date. So with that, they inspired me to dream beyond my circumstances. And in terms of my career, from a young age, I was always been driven. I've always been positive. I always embrace growth mindset, saying there's more for me. And for that, when I was doing my grade 8, I already knew where I needed to be and what I needed to do, and that I needed to work hard on my academics. So I completed my matric, then went to the then West Technicon. Then from there, I progressed from national diploma to now having a PhD and being a CIA as well, and also saying I should contribute to those who come from the rurals, from the township, making them aware that it is possible, it's doable, and I'm a living testimonial of that, saying it is doable. And in terms of my career, I always aspire to touch lives positively and to show others and give them hope that indeed it's possible.
Wow. So where did you start? You can maybe share a bit of that, and how did you succeed?
Okay, so where did I start? When I was a student, I started my first job as a tutor, as a mentor when I was doing my second year of the diploma. I saw a gap when I was a student, that my first year, that I did not have someone to assist me to transition from high school to the university. Then I volunteered to become a mentor and to tutor others, because I believe that as we help others, we're also helping ourselves. Then from there, the love of and passion of teaching grew in me, that I should be doing that. However, after completing my diploma, I got appointed while writing my final exams to be an administrative finance administrator. I did that. I worked for 2 years in the private sector. Then I got recruited to be at UJ as an accountant, where I worked for 5 years. There again, I felt, okay, I think I've done some. For me, accounting was quite routine, because I would be more active the first 2 weeks of the month. Thereafter, I would not have much to do. And I had a passion of being a CA. However, because of other issues in terms of doing CTA and failing the assessments, I then moved to become honors in auditing, and I saw that I can still do it. And I saw there's a gap as well with CIA internal auditing, that there's not much of awareness and people don't know about it. And it's something that will also assist one to add value in organization, because I believe that when internal auditors know the business more than those who come and do the calculations and review the finances. Then from there...
Sorry, I just want to catch on this, because people who have struggled with, the CA route, they feel like such failures, and they spend a lot of time just in this failure. I failed, because, that was your dream.
Yes.
And now this dream, you don't seem like you are going to attain it.
Yes.
So I've seen how for many years they just wallow in this thing of failure, and their whole lives are affected because they didn't achieve this one goal, as if it is the only goal in the world. Just tell us, how did you make that decision of transitioning into something else instead of just wallowing in the failure?
For me, I think it's reflecting, because I'm a reflective person, and just knowing yourself, and also as having that why, because sometimes you'll find people, because of societal pressure and the exposure that they have, is limited to CAs. So with me, I did my research and I saw that there's also CIA, there's internal auditing profession, and in terms of the contribution that one will have into the organization, the community, and the country, there's more that one can offer as a CIA. And even now, there's still a drive of awareness that needs to be put out there in terms of the role that internal auditors can have, especially now with geopolitical issues that we're having, environmental issues that we have. When you have someone as an internal auditor, they know the business more, because they are in the heart, and they are stakeholder value proposition in terms of what they can contribute when it comes to the strategy of an organization. So when it comes to CIA and CA, I think it's a matter of exposing learners in terms of what other professional qualifications they can have and the value that comes with that. Because when you have someone who has attempted CA and they give up, then there's a root cause behind it, and they need to come and check and say, why do I really want to be a CA? And if I become a CA, CASA is quite broad as well, because you have finance, you have tax, you have financial management, and now you need to ask yourself, in which area will I be contributing at? So being aspiring to be CAs does not really need to be the end goal. You need to be able to say, as I become a CA, what will be my contribution, and which space or which sector will I be contributing at? So we have CAs who go back and become CIAs, and who go back and become internal auditors, because they see the role that CIAs and internal auditors have and contribute to the economy. So those who want to be CAs, they just need to ask themselves why they want to be that. And if it does not work out, they need to look into different options that are available for them. Because with me, it was one attempt of CTA, and I was like, this is not for me. And that happened because I knew myself, and I was honest with myself, and I stayed on my lane. I did not compare myself with anyone else. But because I had aspirations, I had timelines, I had to stick to what needed to be done for me to reach the goals that I have set for myself.
Oh, this is interesting, because as you are saying, you reflected and realized that this is not for me, because maybe that's where people miss it, that maybe this is not for me. I'm actually quite impressed that you just had what attempt and were able to figure it out that this is not for you. Wow. So you did this accounting thing, and you felt that you're not finding fulfillment anymore. So what happened after that?
So because now remember CTA is 4 modules, I reflected saying, with the 4 modules that I was enrolled in, which one did I like most, which one made sense? And I saw it was auditing. Hence my move was internal auditing. And then I had to deregister then, because I was doing that through distance learning with another institution. Then I went back to UJ, because that's where I did my undergrad. I enrolled there. And funny enough, I was a top student for BCom Honors in internal auditing.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So again, sometimes you might see failures as obstacles, but they are not. They're just a way for you to detour and go through another pivot in terms of what is meant for you. So when you fail, you should not give up, but take a lesson, reflect, and make decisions based on that.
That's actually such a powerful statement, because this is how I see failure as well. Because, in business, you have the strategy and pursue the strategy, and then it doesn't work, But I used to, out of that thing not working, find something new, a better strategy, maybe better partners, and maybe expand even the vision from where I wanted to take it to a new level. So this thing of wallowing in the failure is just such a waste of time and energy. I'm not saying let's not reflect and learn from our mistakes, but let's not stay there, because there's so much more. I always say you failed finding your way in the CA route, but you have not failed in life.
Yes.
And 100%. This is what you've demonstrated.
And that reminds me of my high school teacher who say rather fail. So you say rather fail at school or rather fail in life. So failing a module, even now with matriculants, the 2025 matriculants, they might have gotten results that they did not really hope for, but it's not the end of the road. And sometimes with the failure, it's time for you to pivot to something else. And you don't need to really wait and waste your time there, because pondering and saying, oh, I'm a failure, I cannot do it, because it might be a fail of the particular module, but not the fail of life.
Amen. Yeah. Wow. Okay, let's continue. Then what happened?
Then with my BCom honors in internal auditing, I got that. Then I was working at UJ as an accountant. Then I was like, okay, remember, I need to have that professional designation. I have now 7 years working experience as an accountant, but I want that CIA behind my name. Then I resigned at UJ. And when I leave organizations, I always leave on a good note. So I spoke to my line manager saying, I need to achieve this professional with me being here. I won't be able to achieve that. And it was after returning from, I just got a scholarship to go to Netherlands for my master's. So I just said, I need to leave. And they're like, okay, you just left for 3 months to unpaid leave. And when you come back, you want to leave. Then because of our good relationship, he understood, he supported me. Then I left. I went again to another organization where I could do my 2 years work experience in internal auditing, because for you to be a CIA, you also need 2 years work experience within internal audit. Then I completed that. But now when I was there as an internal auditor, I got committed and got married. Then I felt pregnant and I was like, okay, auditing requires you to travel a lot. So I still have passion for internal auditing because I know the value it adds to organizations, but I will not be able to practice because I want to be a present mother for my child. Then I reflected again and I was like, I love to teach. I love the young ones. Let me go back and teach internal auditing. Then I applied while pregnant and I got appointed as a lecturer in 2015.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and then that's when my journey in academia started. And this year I'm celebrating 11 years in academia.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. So how has that been?
Wonderful. It has been a journey of growth where I don't only touch life, but my life is well transformed, because as I give to others, I also pour on myself, because I believe in personal development. As I develop others, I need to be also well capacitated in terms of the skills and knowledge and exposure as well in terms of what my students need and be able to feed into that. And when I started in 2015, I was only focused on the undergrad, the diploma students. Now I'm teaching in different levels. I teach from undergrad to PhD. I supervise PhD students.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a speaker. I go to events and facilitate and moderate discussions. So academia has been transformative for me, because I also discovered myself, because I believe that it has never arrived. So you cannot say I've arrived. You're always becoming your best version. And I'm enjoying the journey that I'm at.
Okay, so what are some of the highlights then?
The highlights are seeing students who come from quintile 1 and 3. seeing them having confidence, acquiring soft skills that they need to have. Because when we teach students, it's not only about them having that qualification, but we want a rounded student with adequate skills, knowledge, and societal awareness as well, and be able to contribute and solve problems. And because you don't want a student with a diploma who cannot think for themselves and who cannot relate with others, and who can also not be thinking of entrepreneurship, because you know that unemployment rate is quite high in our country. So you want students who will be able to create opportunities for themselves and others as they complete their qualification. Mm-hmm. So being at the forefront of education assists me to see people transform, because I have students who I've taught in diploma level who are now enrolled for PhDs, who have completed their masters, who are now CIAs. So remember I've mentioned earlier that the awareness of the internal auditing profession was quite slim when I was a student. Now I'm able to advocate for the profession, and I see my students buying in and saying my first option is to be a CIA and not CA, because now they've been exposed to a different profession.
Okay. But I mean, when you are in academia, there's just so much pressure, you know. So you had a master's, and then what drove you then to do a doctorate? And secondly, now you're a professor. How did you get there?
Yeah, when you are in academia, you need to get to the top, the NQF 10. So for you to progress, for you to go up the ranks, you need to also do that personal development and professional development. So I committed that after my master's, I got the CIA. Then I was like, now it's time for PhD, because I cannot be a lecturer for more than 10 years. So because I always work on timeline. So my timeline was lecturer for 5 years. Then after that, I wanted to be a senior lecturer, which I applied to after getting my CIA. Then with my few publications, and I got promoted to senior lecturer. Then I asked myself, for me to be a professor, they need a PhD. Then I need to enroll for the PhD. And while doing that, I was like, I need funders. I need to be exposed. I applied for funding, which I got. Then I went to University of Florida in the US with my son, because I already had a son. Then I was like, I need to balance the two, but not leave and forget my passion of teaching and wanting to reach to the upper rank of a full professor. So I've always been reflective and saying, and being intentional, saying I need to get the qualification. I got it within 3 years. And after getting the qualification, I knew as well that I need to continue publishing while doing the PhD and after PhD to build a profile, because for you to be promoted, there should be a portfolio of evidence of the work that you've done, not only in teaching and research, but in 3 areas of teaching, research, and community engagement. So while working as an academic, I need to be societally aware and of my space and my contribution. I have passion for young ones and women empowerment. So I've been in platforms and spaces where I could contribute into different spaces like International Women's Forum, the Young Leaders Connect, where I've served for 3 years. I've served as a co-lead for student chapter, ensuring that we get into spaces of different universities to ensure that students are aware of the importance of leadership, and they need to be aware that they need to lead themselves before they lead others as well. Then I've served as well as a co-lead for board leadership, but a pillar of why Young Leaders Connect, where we ensure that both our women that are part of YLC are empowered of skills and knowledge, and they are both ready through skills transferation that we might have for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Passion. So you're saying you went overseas when you were doing the doctorate. How long were you there?
I was there for 3 months. So we went for 3 months for exchange program. Then we came back. Then I continued doing my work for my teaching and my research and community engagement.
Okay.
But I went there with my son.
So what was the process in terms of getting to professorship then?
So with professorship, one would need to have that stature of a professor, where when they say Lethiwe, people in research, they know you, they cite your work. And also in terms of supervision, you've supervised honor students, master students, and also with your teaching, not just for the sake of teaching, but it has an impact. And students, when they reflect on you as an academic, they reflect on your practice, that is transformative. They understand how your teaching style, the methodology that you use. And so you need to excel in all 3. and you need to balance them so that you are an all-rounder in terms of professorship. And when it comes to professor of internal auditing, you need to be able to speak into that internal auditing and advocate for the profession, which I've done, because I've been a board member of Institute of Internal Auditors for the past 2 years and now got reappointed for a second term. So that also assisted into my professorship. Yes.
Because I mean, people struggle to get these professorships. You know, for you see seasoned academics, you know, not being professors, and I would be like, I mean, you've been in these professions for a long time. You're still doctor. How is it possible for that? Yeah, so I was surprised when you said you are already a professor. I was like, wow.
Yeah, so every organization or institution has a policy in terms of how you get promoted to a different rank. So for me, I've always been intentional. So I got promoted to associate professor after five years of being a senior lecturer, because while being a senior lecturer, I was performing at the level of an associate professor in terms of when do I need to publish, how often do I publish, and when I publish, how do I then promote my work and ensuring that my work speaks to SDGs, my work speaks to societal impact as well, and my work transforms, because sometimes you would publish something that no one wants to read, no one wants to cite, and also yourself as a researcher, you're not advocating for it. So with me, even last year, I went and did a road show of my work that I've done. I did a cross-sectional study where I looked into peer mentorship program and how it influenced the resilience of students and the quality of life. And I reflected during COVID 2020 and 2022, reflecting on when we have the program of mentoring students, how does it affect their life before COVID, during COVID and after COVID, because we know that students who have struggled, not even students, everyone struggled during 2020. And with me being an academic, I don't see students as numbers. When I come in, it's not only about auditing. I want to see students as human beings. I want them to see that we see them and they are valued and are taken care of, because I believe when there's a conducive environment, one can excel. But we cannot expect excellence when there's scarcity of basics. Yes. So with professorship, it was easy for me because I knew what boxes I needed to tick, and I was intentional and I was strategical as well.
Okay. So I mean, I'm sort of an alumni of UJ, if you like, because they honored me with an honorary doctorate, which really now I can be proud. Also, I also have an honorary doctorate. Yes. But I've been watching UJ, you know, how you've evolved from RAW to UJ. And UJ is majority black university. We've got more black students than any other university in terms of these top universities. But you are also a top university. Yes. How did you achieve that?
I believe at UJ, we are intentional. And hence you got an honorary doctorate, and the first one from UJ. Because when we do things, we do it for societal impact. We look into SDGs, 4IR, and we have management that supports employees' vision. For example, with your honorary doctorate, it was me reading your book, me looking at your journey and saying, why is she not honored? But I don't have that power or control in saying she's getting an honorary doctorate. But I have influence because my leadership listens. So I was really privileged to have a line manager who saw the vision and supported it. And it was 2 line managers, her line manager as well, supported it. They were inspired. And I was really honored and inspired to see even the VC himself inviting you and having engagements with you and even hosting a high tea. And that speaks to an environment of growth, an environment that is conducive, an environment where a staff member is valued. When you have people that are taken care of, people will want to shine, will want to excel, and will want to give. So hence we are number 1 ranked in research. And when we are doing something, when we have a strategy, whatever that we do is aligned with the strategy, because now we have 2035 strategy, and that speaks to education, speaks to partnership, it speaks to research and innovation. And that speaks also to what I've mentioned earlier. For you to be an associate professor, you need to contribute to all these pillars. And we, as an academic, I was intentional with that, and I believe most academics at UJ are intentional about that, which contributes to the ranking of the university.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, because we lived in South Africa, we know the past of South Africans, and for you to get a good education, you need to go to a good school,
Yes.
good university, and all of that. That gives you a chance. But, we've taken our children, for instance, to private schools, and we saw the kind of damage that did to them in terms of the racism that they faced in those schools.
Yes.
And again, even at varsity, you see what is happening in these top universities where racism is still rife. People are not welcomed, and you know that you're just surviving here so that you get your qualifications. Some of the stories that have come out are really horrific. And I always say that, we need institutions where our students can get the best education, but at the same time, they are valued and seen
Yes.
as human beings,
Yes.
so that they come out rounded. Because when you've gone through that trauma, even now as a professional, you still have to heal from that trauma. And so how did you make this work be a top university but majority Black? Because again, we're always told that Black people are not capable, and all of those funny things that they say, you are proving all of those things wrong.
Yeah, so with us as a university, we're University of Access. For example, when one applies to be admitted, they don't have to pay any fee, and that speaks to you being inclusive.
Really?
Yes, we don't have application fee, and that speaks to being inclusive, because we know there is someone in the rurals who cannot even afford that, because even with the application, they might not have internet or connectivity that is suitable for them to even complete the application. So we are University of Access, and we pride ourselves that there's no administration fee that one needs to pay. And speaking back to what I've mentioned in terms of mentorship program, I'm really proud to have served as a first-year experience coordinator for my department. And that initiative started in 2018. And when I saw that it was happening within the faculty, I then spoke to my HOD, who endorsed your nomination for honorary doctorate. And she's indicated that, no, Lethiwe, you can run with the program. And we ran with the program. It was a success. And even now we have mentors who are paid. Before, they would volunteer their time and assist first years to transition into the universities. Now we have mentors who are second and third years who assist the first years to get in and understand the environment of the university and transition, because as I've mentioned, most of our students, especially in our Soweto campus, are from Quantum 1 and 3 universities, high schools, where they might not have been exposed to a computer. They don't know how to type or even send an email. They've never even had a conversation with a person of different race. So with us being a coordinators of first year experience, we ensure that we support the students as they come in and they feel valued, they feel seen, and we expose them to opportunities that are out there, so that when they complete their diploma, they become all-rounded as well, and they have that confidence that they require. Even with interview skills, we assist them with that, and writing as well, we support them with that, so that we know that they are able to articulate themselves, they're able to promote themselves and get employed. If not employed, create opportunities for themselves.
Okay, so what lessons have you learned in terms of this past and this, this attitude towards Black people? What did you learn? Did you learn that it doesn't matter what your background is?
Yes.
You can still, develop to be the best version of yourself?
Yes. So I believe that as a Black person, you need to own your Blackness. You need to have pride as well of that, and be proud of yourself and have a sense of ownership, and saying, when I come, I don't come as one. I come and representing everyone behind me and everyone who's looking and saying, she gives hope. So when there are different narratives around you, you need to rise above the noise. You need not to listen to the noise and say, this is me. Do not let anyone label you and prove them wrong. Because even with myself, I'm from a township, but I'm a professor. I'm such a professor now. I have a PhD, and I have people who have come to in different advantageous areas and exposures as well. But I'm excelling still, right? So I don't say my background limits me. I say if I want it, I'll get it, and I'll ensure I get it because I'll put measures in place to get me there. So do not be a victim of circumstances. Rise above your circumstances.
Okay. So now as a woman, how did you navigate that space? Because, you know, there's still this prejudice against women. I mean, I'm listening to you, all that you've achieved in spite of the prejudice around women. How did you navigate that space as a woman?
So as
Black women as well.
So yeah, they are there. So sometimes some are systematic. So one would need to know how to play the game as well. And especially when it comes to organizations, there might be politics. You need to know when to speak, when not to speak, and be tactful as well. But you need to speak your truth. So even if you see that the environment might not be conducive, but you need to have that courage. And I'm practicing that, where if there's something that needs to be addressed, I will ensure it gets addressed. It might not be in the platform that is currently happening, because sometimes you need to be calculative as well and saying, if I respond now, this might happen. So let me find a way to address this because it needs to be addressed. I don't leave things hanging. And also not setting and sabotaging myself. So I look into opportunities, I look into allies and saying, I know this one can help. And we don't need to be friends, but I need to be able to engage with others. I need to be able to be vulnerable as well. But I need to be consistent on how I show up. Because sometimes if you show up as a child, people will treat you as a child. But if you show up as an adult, they'll respect you. So I'm very conscious on how I show up. I'm very conscious in terms of when do I speak and what do I say and to whom am I saying that. Because sometimes there are people who maybe don't even deserve to even hear what ideas you might have because they don't take you serious. Sometimes there are people who have already concluded on who you are. And now when you know yourself and you know that your value is in, and appreciation comes from within, you know that I know my worth, no one needs to validate me, then you don't need to go and prove to anyone and perform for people to endorse you. You can endorse yourself. When they see that you can do that on your own, they'll respect you.
Okay. Sort of understanding how which battles to fight and which ones not to fight. Yes. And so how did you build relationships then with those above you? I mean, you're always telling me that, you know, your boss would support you. How did you manage that? Because there are always problems of relationship between, you know, direct reports and their leaders.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a matter of performing. I think if you do what is supposed to be done and even go beyond that, people respect you and trust you. Because I've never been micromanaged because I do my work and I do more than what is required of me. I know my KPIs and KPAs, but I'll always have ideas because I always think outside the box. And again, going back to how I want to be received, how I show up is quite important for me. So in terms of networking and meeting people, I can even speak to a president of different country because I don't get intimidated by roles or titles. I see people as people, and it depending on how they respond accordingly as well. But if I see you are open for discussion, I'll do that. But also, again, I'm very tactful. I remember meeting you first time. I saw that you're quite reserved. I did not go and approach you. I spent time within the same room with you, but did not speak to you. And only when I saw now I can speak to her, then I spoke to you. And that speaks to so I do that. I apply that. I read people, and sometimes, as I said, I see good in others, but I calculate, is it worth a discussion? Because I don't have a discussion for the sake of discussion. I have a discussion because there's something that we want to achieve through that discussion. Yes.
Okay. So you've never had a challenge with a boss that you had to navigate? Or if there was such a case, how did you navigate it?
So with conflict, I'm good in conflict management and confronting things, I confront them. And again, being tactful as well. So there have been instances where one would feel I'm being undermined, or this one does not want to hear me, but I'll make them hear me, because, and obviously in a professional manner. But I would not have instances where it gets out of order and people get involved. I love one-on-ones. If I have an issue with Mam Koboto, let it be issue between the two of us. Let's address it. If Mam Koboto does not want to listen to me or does not value my opinion, then that's on her. But I have said my say. I've spoken my truth, and that gives me peace. Yes. So conflict, even with the line manager that supports me, some days would not be rosy, but because of work, not as a personality issues, but sometimes again it speaks to when you have conflict, deal with the conflict and not the person.
Yes. So where did you learn all of that?
I used to.
What influenced you?
What influenced me? Mostly my parents. My parents are my number one role models even today, because sometimes with mentors, it can be seasonal, but with them, it has been permanent from day one. And when I reflect and when I have challenges, there are people that I call and they give me great counsel. I trust their judgment. And also, I'm someone who have that intuition that I embrace, and I listen, and I pray a lot before doing things, before even doing a project or making a call or sending a WhatsApp. That is, I feel is important. I pray for guidance. I pray for wisdom, because I don't want to sabotage myself. I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to make decisions that I'll regret. So everything that I do, I'll calculate.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, there's so much misunderstanding around purpose. People have been lost, saying they are pursuing purpose. And I think there's just such a misunderstanding of purpose. What does purpose stand for you? And how did you find your purpose?
Okay, for me, purpose is my why. Why, like for my existence as well, like, as I said earlier, when I do things, I'm intentional. So my purpose would be, why am I in this world? And if I'm in this world to contribute, where am I contributing? And as I contribute, do I feel fulfilled? And that speaks to being self-aware. If one is not self-aware, they might struggle with the purpose, because and their ambition. And also what fulfills you and the passion that you might have through that purpose. Because if you have not reflected and have identified who you are as an individual and your drive, then your purpose might not balance, might always change, might be seasonal. And for you to be able to say, this is my purpose, you just need to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, you really, really struggle. So in terms of me and my purpose, I believe my purpose, especially when it comes to my name, I think my father knew when he gave my name Lethiwe, because Lethiwe is a gift as well. I've been brought as a gift from God. And I believe it speaks to the purpose as well, that as I transition, as I live, I need to ensure that in my journey of becoming, others are becoming as well. As I live, and those who coexist with me are inspired, are empowered, and their potential is unleashed. They realize what is meant for them. So the purpose would be to serve others. So I love serving. And again, speaking to your honorary doctorate, I feel I served you. I gave you the recognition that you deserved.
Oh, definitely. Oh, okay. So I always say that, we romanticize this thing of purpose too much. And purpose is whatever you do where you are. If you're a student, the purpose is to make sure that you pass yes. and get the qualification that you need. When you are a junior starting work, your purpose is to position yourself, make sure that you get exposed to all the, in terms of the environment that will position you for growth in your career and promotions and so on. And you may not find, for instance, what people typically say it's a purpose, but it doesn't mean that your life doesn't have purpose.
Yes.
For instance, in my case, I always wondered, okay, what really is my purpose? I know that I was a pioneer in business.
Yes.
I, had this passion to make sure that as Black people, as a Black woman, I would prove to everybody that there was nothing I couldn't do. That was sort of my driving mission.
Yes.
But was that purpose or not? So recently, I attended a 10-year anniversary of a former company that had established Nkululeko Leadership, which I started after I left the profession, thinking that, I love leadership. I want to contribute towards leadership because there's such a big problem of leadership in the country. But that turned out not to be something that I was passionate about. As I've shared that I found out that I'm doing something that is not meant for me. So when I attended this 10-year anniversary, and they were thanking me about, pioneering that business.
Yes.
When I was leaving there, I reflected and I said, maybe that was my purpose of breaking ground for others to build on. Because sometimes I would feel like I start businesses, I establish them, they become successful, and then I leave. And then others are able to continue. And was it the right thing to leave and so on? And maybe I saw that as a weakness, for instance. But after that day, I was like, maybe that was my purpose, to break ground for others, to build on, so I must be proud of myself.
Yes, you should.
That I found my purpose, I didn't realize as I was doing it that maybe that was my purpose. So it was such a comforting moment for me in terms of my contribution in life, because even besides those that I was physically involved, I would help like entrepreneurs establish the business, work with them, make sure that they get, the kind of project they deserve and speak for them and so on, but don't necessarily participate in the project itself. So I was like, actually, that was my purpose.
Yes, and speaking about that, someone mentioned that as a leader, if you are there for a long time, then you're not leading. As a leader, you need to lead, set the tone, have that foundation, and leave the legacy. And when you have left, go look back and see if it's working out. Then you have done much. You've done work. The foundation is strong. So if you are a leader, you should not hog into the leadership position. Lead, serve, and show others how it needs to be done and leave. Same as when you are a parent, you nurture your child. As soon as they are comfortable to walk on their own, you should be confident that they can do it because you've taught them the basics of walking. And as they walk, you just have to look and be proud. So I believe you've done that, and you just have to be proud of yourself for the influence that you've done.
Yes.
And the foundation you've set.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, because people often ask me, as a founder, how did you get to a place of saying, I must leave now, I must hand over to the next generation? I can't say it's an easy decision because you always worry about your legacy. But you need to know that trust in the work that you've put into those people who are going to take your legacy forward. And I was worried about my legacy, but fortunately for me, Sizwe Nzalo Gobodo still exists, and still thriving, still doing well,
100%.
Which talks to the kind of foundation
that was set.
Yes. There. So that is really our duty as leaders. I mean, you look at our country, South Africa, there are many things that we could be proud of, but there's also a lot that has not been done, especially, coming from the kind of past that where we started.
Yes.
And I'm really proud of what we achieved in these past 32 years in terms of developing people. We have a growing middle class. We can be proud of that. We see Black people and women, in top positions, not to the level that we'd like to see because we are the majority.
Yes.
I always wonder how this foundation that has been left in terms of that has been set in terms of that foundation of these professionals who have been trained in various sectors. how can we use that now to go to the next level? Because we still have so many people who are living in poverty, who are excluded economically. And it is our duty, as those who have been invested in to make sure that this dream of a new South Africa can really be realized. What do you think can be done?
So what I've seen is people get, especially when it comes to development, people get developed, they have qualifications, but they're quite slim opportunities. And others want to be entrepreneurs, but the funding is there, but not accessible to everyone. And also when funding is done, no one is there to mentor and say, now you have funding, how do you then navigate? If you can look into the television, you'll see that there is also a Blue It where people will get funds, but not know how to manage the funds as well. So it's important that when people are empowered in terms of getting the qualifications and skills, they're given space as well on how to operate and make their change and contribute to the economy. But while doing that, being able to be held accountable for the funding that they get, because you cannot just inject funding and disappear as an organization that is funding. You need to fund, but have processes and systems that will do evaluation and monitoring and be able to give back and assist. And maybe when you give funding, it should not be on a lump sum basis, but you need to inject on installments and be able to guide and see that the organization is growing as it needs to grow. And also with working with other people, the ecosystem, and working with other people in different countries or different regions, we should be able not to ensure that we don't work in silos, but we support each other. And also there should be a link in terms public, private, and so that we have that partnership, that we support each other. Once we do that, people will get opportunities, and there won't be anyone blaming in another sector saying this one is supported more than the other, because sometimes you'll find that when there are issues of fraud or corruption, they'll say public sector, but private sector, things like that also okay. But as those both sectors are speaking to each other and they hold each other accountable, then there will be progress in the terms of our economy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's talk about identity now. I mean, now I've really been impressed as you are sharing your journey, that in spite of your background, you never became a victim of that background or your race or your gender or anything like that. I always worry about what the impact of, our past in terms of apartheid has had on us. Because I always ask my question, okay, the past happened. Why are we struggling as Black people to develop and get to a place where we can rebuild our country? Because we psychologically, we don't appreciate maybe fully what that did for us. Because, I mean, you look at the, youth of today, they have this expectation of things being done for them, and you don't know where that is coming from. I look at them and I say that they really lack resilience, because, I mean, it's still going to be a struggle. Even if you are privileged, there's still, struggles that you have to face as a person. Just what have you understood, especially you see them as they enter university, nurturing them from there. What can you contribute towards this issue of identity?
So in terms of identity, what I've picked up is that there's that sense of entitlement, not sense of ownership and pride, because once we have youth that have that sense of ownership, I think everyone would want to do their part. And also when I look into how these young ones are being nurtured, we have busy parents and we have gadgets where parents are always on their gadgets. They don't have time to be present for their kids. And also when you have parents who might have the middle class, who might have resources, mostly the parenting would be injecting of cash or money to the kids, where they just transfer money, but they're not there for the kids. But that does not mean it's the parents' fault. I think both parties need to come to play and say, this is my contribution. So the kids of today, most of them want shortcuts. They want instant things because maybe they've been exposed to instant achievements, and they see on social media how people are achieving things in quite a short space of time. Because now, even with the separate currency, with the currency saying, okay, now I can do gaming, I can do this and that, and it'll earn me quick money, or I can be an influencer, then I'll have quick money. And some, they don't even see the value of education. They believe that YouTube can teach them, or Google can teach them. And that can also work as an advantage or disadvantage. Earlier, I've seen a news announcement where a child, 21-year-old young adult, was going through mental issues, but they used the gadgets to ask them, how do I commit suicide? Which is so bad. And now they said, okay, you can, this is the method that you can use for a quick exit. And they applied that. So we have kids who are exposed to a lot of things through social media because of the gadgets that the parents might give the child with the hope of showing them that they love them. And when you have a child with resources around them that they don't know how to use the resources, no one is there to supervise and guide, then we are at a risk. So we would want to see parents, communities, and the kids themselves holding each other accountable and having that sense of ownership. And when you see a child, especially with myself, when I see someone within the university or within the community that is struggling and needs to be supported, I should not say it's not my child, it's not my relative, then I should look away. Everyone needs to do their bit to support the kids. Yes, they might have that sense of entitlement, but it's your responsibility as an adult to say, what can I do to assist this child to move away from their current mindset to a different mindset that will see opportunities, that will see that they need to realize their potential and also hold themselves accountable.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah. It's going to take all of us, actually,
Yes.
to reverse the ills of the past.
Yes.
Okay, in closing, what your closing thoughts? You know, people look up to you. What can you say to those people who look up to you, who want to be exactly like you?
When it comes to the profession?
No. Just whatever you want to say to them.
Okay. So whoever that is watching, I would say be your own advocate. No one is coming to save you. In any space that we want to perform, in any dream that you want to achieve, you hold yourself accountable, be clear of the dream, and also while you achieve the dream, ensure that the dream that you will achieve is not only for your own benefit, but make it the achievement of the community, of the country, of the continent. Because as we live, we are living in line with our purpose. And I believe all of us are here to contribute into the ecosystem of the country and the world. So as you do, ensure the contribution is quite impactful and it is positive. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Lethiwe, for this interview. I'm sure my listeners will really get nuggets of wisdom, and I wish you the best as you continue with your career.
Thank you so much.